Hello, welcome back to Geek Warning, the cycling tech-focused podcast from Escape Collective. I'm Dave Rome, joined once again, by Ronan McLaughlin. Ronan, how are you?
Good, yeah.
Yeah? You've had a few
December.
busy weeks.
It's been a busy year, man.
It has been a busy year, but why the last few weeks in particular? What has been keeping you awake at night?
Yeah, actually, like Escape Collective members might be thinking, what? Ronan's been busy? We haven't seen Ronan for a month. He's published like 4 articles in November. We assumed he was off on holidays or something, but no. I've been knee-deep in tyres, trying to finish off this round of tyre testing that we have been doing all year.
When you say we, you?
Yeah, well, the we is myself and Streamline's Aero, who have been helping out significantly with this. And it's actually quite amazing how much time and energy they've dedicated to the project. And I think that's partially also just because we've been uncovering such useful and insightful information that I don't think has been understood before. So, yeah.
Well, firstly, like, what is Streamlines? I assume they're not like a spray foam.
No, not that, Dave. Streamlines. Actually, their founder, John Buckley, has been on the Performance Process podcast before talking about exactly who Streamlines are and what they do. Long story short, they've developed a drag measurement system that includes like the pitot tube device that you have at the front of the bike that measures wind speed and yaw angle and ambient conditions and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then they also have high resolution speed sensor that's part of the system, measures like again much higher resolution than your typical speed sensor. And they've also got a body position sensor that goes on your stem as part of the system also, and just sort of measures how much is your body changing position throughout each test. And then they combine or collect all that data through a Nimbus, an app that they call Nimbus. It's on an Android device, and then all that goes up into their cloud portal for calculating and presenting and the results in that. So yeah, long way of saying they offer non-commercially available, much more like professional level equipment in terms of drag measurement systems to industry and to teams, and the body sensor thing is commercially available, but the overall package isn't yet.
Yeah. And you've spent many months using this stuff to I guess try figure out a protocol for tyre testing, which is that's the most insane thing. Is I think you've spent 9 months doing this testing to now have established the protocol. Like, this isn't like you've spent 9 months testing, you now know what the fastest tire is. You now know.
Oh no.
Yeah,
we
you
spent
now
9
have
months testing
an
to get to the
established
start.
protocol. Yeah, this is proper fodder for a Geek Warning podcast. But yeah, so I mean, this article will be live by the time people are hearing this.
Oh God, let's hope so, because we're talking about it now. But yeah, I just want to get back into what you've said there. There will be a dedicated podcast on this as well with John from Streamline. So there will be plenty of fodder for the geeks out there. The article is scheduled for this week, provided that I finish it and there are no last minute delays. The only potential delays at this point are photos and stuff, so hopefully not, and just waiting on a response from Pirelli because it was their range of tires that we tested. But yeah, this testing so far has been like a proof of concept for the testing that we plan to do in future. We didn't realize when we started that it was going to be such a huge undertaking. Maybe John did, because John warned me, like, just be careful with your test matrix, because if you make it too wide, this is going to be a nightmare.
John of Streamlines.
Yeah. And yeah, so what he meant by that was like, just, keep the things that you're testing to a minimum. And so I thought I was heeding his advice when I decided to pick Pirelli's P0 range, and we specifically chose that tire not to evaluate that tire, but because it offered the same tire, or practically the same tire, in every width from 26 to 40. And so we ended up testing 6 different tire widths at 3 different tire pressures across 3 different surface roughnesses. To sort of, the idea was that, if we can do this, then we can do the comparatively more easier testing of just like, which is faster, a GP 5000 or a Corsa Pro.
Sure. Yeah.
at
And
one pressure on one surface.
I was going to say, and from that, you're now ready to take the next step, which is answering that question.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess a lot of this is going to be member only because 9 months of your work should be.
Mm.
So I'm not going to ask you too much about what's in that article. I would say I actually learned quite a bit myself by reading the draft of it. So some of it incredibly interesting. And a lot of it is not like answering what not answering what the fastest tire is yet, but basically changing what I thought I knew about tire testing or how to do it or what potentially makes a good fast tire.
Mm-hmm.
Is there one thing from your testing that you might want to tease us with now that might get people to jump into that article and see what else is there?
I think there are two things,
Yeah.
and I'll give you two because one is very useful to the listener right now, and the other is potentially something that's going to shape the future of tires that we have uncovered with this testing. And so the first one is just around what we've found, and I'll tell you what we found because that's for our members. But basically, we've found that pressure is even more important than we anticipated, and the optimal pressure for me is not what I was expecting.
It's more towards where we've come from versus where we're going in terms of pressures.
This is the thing. If you jumped in a time machine and went back to 2005 and told someone our results, they'd say you're bonkers.
Yeah.
But compared to where we're at today, and it
Sure.
seems like a correction of sorts. And it's not just about like the pressure I found. It's more how that pressure applies across the various different widths. And one point I want to make on those widths is that we are all too aware that the Pirelli P0 TLR race in 28mm version is not the same as the 40mm version in terms of construction and tread width and that. There are differences there, but that range is the closest thing there is to a consistent range of tires where the only difference is width. There are other differences. We've noted that there are pros and cons to every decision in testing. You have to make a decision to stick by it, and a couple of decisions we made were on which tires we'd test and which rims we'd use, and we go into both of those in the article.
Yeah. But yeah, there's even plenty there, even if you ignore all the comparisons throughout sizes, even if you look at a specific size, there's plenty of comparison of how you tested one single size of tire that I think is very interesting. And so I guess along the lines of, testing a single size of tire across many different pressures and surfaces and what you found with that, one of the other things that really stood out to me in your testing is that it might change what it means for hookless road in the market.
A little bit more than that, Dave, because it wasn't just testing a single tire over multiple pressures and multiple surfaces, but testing every tire across every surface, across every pressure tells us that, my optimal pressure, let's say, falls outside the hookless limit for even a 28, which is a higher limit than you will get with a 40mm tire.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
So, I mean, listeners can probably conclude what the result in terms of hookless there is, but there's not much they need to piece together on that one. But still, that's just one of the 8 lessons that we have listed in this article that I have taken from the testing, and the other one I said I would tease that may well influence the future of performance tires is our findings around tire or temperature sensitivity of tires. And so because you'd mentioned it took 8-9 months to do this testing, what you didn't say was that most of the testing was done late at night. First of all, to try to just get traffic-free test sections, and one of the test roads is actually like a cycle path, so just get it that there's no other pedestrians using the path at the same time.
Ronan was busy becoming the local legend while everyone else slept.
Yes, very much so. You can check that on my Strava. But one of the unexpected benefits of doing so much testing late at night was that there was, as we started the test at 9 p.m. and maybe finished around midnight or after it, temperatures were decreasing through the testing. We then happened to do some testing where the temperatures were increasing in the morning from like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then finally we did some testing in the middle of the day where temperatures are stable. And again, I'll not give it away here. It's for members, but the findings in terms of what temperature does to tire performance were absolutely incredible. I don't think it's over egging it to say that.
Yeah, I think it's some people would already think like colder temperatures would make a tire stiffer and therefore in theory would make it slower. But I think yourself and the other experts involved didn't quite expect the numbers that they saw. So
yeah, I mean, like, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to assume what trends we've seen, but it's the magnitude of it and what that means for the future of tires. Like
and testing, right, and other testing.
And
so
other
I think
testing,
that is
yes.
a variable that wasn't accounted for previously in a lot of other tests done to date.
Yeah, it's just tire testing is so difficult. I've gone into some of the challenges that we faced, and the other thing we're doing is here we're publishing all of our test data, so people can pick through it, which I don't think has really been done before, and that's one because we're confident in it, but then also just because we think that's that's something that we should do when we're publishing data that people are going to make purchasing decisions on. And again, people might not make purchasing decisions on this exact testing because it's limited to one tire range and its widths, although you might. And certainly on the temperature stuff, there's not much you can do with that information right now. But in future, you might well have the option of a cold weather tire, let's put it, based on what we found in this test.
I'm giggling to myself because my inbox is I'm still trying to delete my way out of Black Friday sales, and I'm giggling to myself thinking that you just spent a year testing tires and that soon you might have some definitive, really well researched, scientifically sound reasonings on why a certain tire is the performance pick, and fundamentally people are still going to buy what's on sale.
I thought you were going down the whatever this trend of headlines is. I think it's some sort of AI feeding optimization where it's like pick the longest headline you possibly. So for this would be, I spent 9 months testing 6 different tires across 3 different pressures on 3 different courses, and now the tire that came out third is on sale, but my pick is still the tire that was 6th.
Yeah. Don't forget the thumbnail with you looking shocked in it. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, incredible work.
I mean, that is just like absolutely top of the iceberg stuff. I mean, if you are in any way on the fence about becoming an Escape Collective member, just do it for. I know I'm biased and blowing my own trumpet and all here, but for what you'll get from this article, yeah, it's worth at least $10.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even if you just want to read it on a monthly membership, do that. But we'd love to see you stick around, become an annual member and get everything we do. But yeah,
as I've mentioned in the article as well, it's only because we operate in the model that we do with Escape Collective members funding what we do here that I had the time to go out and do this. I wasn't tasked with, we need tire testing run and we need results next week. Mm-hmm. So go do something and publish it. I did this tire testing at night, yes, because of the traffic thing, but also because I was just doing normal work during the days. And so kind of, when am I going to do the tire testing? I'll do it late at night. But again, the opportunity to dig this deep and explore this far would not have been possible had we not been funded by our members. So literally, if you are an Escape Collective member, this level of detail only happens because you've signed up.
Yeah. Once again, thank you to everyone. But do head over to Escape Collective and check this article out. I'd say it's also a really interesting read and it sort of jumps through the lessons quite efficiently. So
it's not very long.
If you're fearing a 15,000 word feature, it's not that. It's a really nice read. So anyway, right, well done.
Speaking of Escape Collective members, I mean, we mentioned Formula One last week, and the title race has got even hotter since. But I mean, on our Discord, the F1 channel was the place to be during yesterday's Qatar Grand Prix. It was there was a lot of banter flying back and forth there. It was good. I enjoyed it. Now, the race was surprisingly entertaining. It was expected to be a bore, but the chat there with the members was exceptional.
Interesting. So if you're a cyclist into F1, then apparently our Discord is the place to be. I didn't even know.
The Venn diagram.
Very good. So, Ronan, amongst all this tire testing, amongst you trying to hit a deadline before the end of the year, hopefully a deadline before everyone's hearing this episode, because otherwise that whole segment won't make a lot of sense. But you've missed your deadline for your favorite annual article. And I wanted to know, you've written here on the run sheet, I struggle so much with these things. I want to know why you struggle so much with them. What's on your mind about this?
If I'm honest, like struggle was me being polite.
You just hate them.
Yeah, more or less.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Fair enough.
Maybe I'm just grumpy. Maybe I'm just jaded. I don't know. But
all of the above.
I don't know. Every year, like I just dread these things. Like I sit down and I don't have 6 things that I would call my favorite things of the year. But then, like, I sit down to write, and all of a sudden I've got 10, and I have to whittle this down to 6. That's usually how these things goes. But this year has been different. The more often I sat down to write it, the less things I was coming up with.
Oh wow.
And so yeah, I eventually I got through that, and I have a few things. But yeah, I think the problem that I've got with this is like, first of all, like as we always say, they are not shopping lists.
Mm-hmm.
They are not affiliate links. They are not, we're not doing anything here other than trying to give you a glimpse into the things that we enjoyed this year. The problem with it, like everything that I put on the list, I ended up sort of viewing through the lens of, well, is someone going to assume that I'm saying this is the perfect saddle, or this is,
sure.
And
yeah, it's not a best of list. It's
and I genuinely, the things that I had on the list, I couldn't stand over them and say, well, I'm convinced this is the same thing I'll be using 12 months from now. In fact, a lot of the things that would have made it onto the list couldn't. The things that I'm still using couldn't, because I put them in previous year's lists. And so for a short while, I considered just rewriting, like, oh, here are 6 things are my favorite things last year, and actually they were my favorite things last year also.
I accidentally did include in my honorable mention something that I had in my honorable mentions the year before.
But then I did kind of get to the point where I was like, well, look, I maybe just have to explain that I'm not saying these things are perfect, but these are the things that, I'm not even saying they're my favorite, but they're the things that I turned to most in 2025, or the things that I used most in 2025. So in that regard, I'm working through it, and there are a couple of things in there that I genuinely have loved. But yeah, I don't know. I just I'm not very good at writing things that need to be written. I'm more of a inspiration person.
With that, I mean, what might make your list that we can tease for now? Because everyone's seen my list, so I feel like there's no point talking about mine. But yours is like a tease.
Well, maybe people want to, like, there's always parts, like we always have to cull some of the word count, and so maybe there's extra detail that you want to go in there that you couldn't provide in the written version.
Oh, it's not about me. I was asking you a question.
No, well, I mean, just the offer's there. If you want to talk about what you've written, I will listen. To answer your question,
avoiding the topic all over again.
The new Castelli Perfetto Ross 3 jacket has sort of quietly become my go-to jacket over the last 6 to 8 weeks, and so I've been trying to wrap up the review of that, and so it made sense that would go on there. Like, genuinely impressed with that thing. And I don't know if I was scraping the barrel or what, but the Wahoo tracker heart rate monitor made it on there as well.
No, that's a fair product. Yeah.
It definitely is, but only because it works, which is like the bare minimum we should expect of any. Yeah. It's just like, do as you say you will do, and don't break. And every heart rate monitor I've had for the past 10 years would break within 6 months, and that one is still going strong 18 months later. So credit where it's due, Wahoo have made a reliable and durable heart rate monitor, but I struggle in like giving it a favorite things piece just because it works.
Like, no, and I feel that so much with like the CAS stem alignment tool I had in my review, which is this really niche, really expensive. I think it's like €350 for a stem alignment tool. You can only buy it from R2 Bike in Germany. Like it's a very niche product, but having spent the last decade trying every other stem alignment tool on the market and always being frustrated by them, or like one drop and they're dead. And this thing is just like solves so many of the common issues that I had with the stem alignment tools, and it actually works the way I want it to on wonky shaped one-piece handlebars, and that solves a need for me. I included it because it's like there are other stem alignment tools in the market, but finally I found one that I actually want to use and that actually aligns the handlebar to the front wheel and lets me tighten the stem without having to second guess myself or put the bike on the ground and eye it up and then readjust and test ride and vice versa. And so, yeah, I feel that with your heart rate strap as well.
Point taken, but I do think though heart rate straps is another like we had these things figured out 20 years ago.
Oh yeah,
and then they became crap.
Yeah,
the stem alignment tool has never been solved.
Yeah,
Now
we went the polar opposite from working.
Oh God. I mean, yeah, I don't know if I should just give away my whole list or not. Like, but like a potential at the moment is like Q36.5 shoes, which are by no means perfect, but they're the shoes that I've kept turning to for the past 3-4 months. The Favero Asioma, the new SPD SL version of those, like they are what we were hoping they would be from Favero. I just personally don't get along all that well with the Shimano cleat system. But yeah, they are great. But again, yeah, it's kind of like there's nothing I felt like so passionate about including, except the Transatlantic Way bikepacking event that I did, which I'm going to include that as one of my favorite things.
I'm going to stop you there before you give away the entire list, and so no one needs to read it.
Yeah.
But one thing you mentioned there, which I'm going to return to just because people are going to be curious, is you just hinted at that the Shimano SPD SL cleat system's not your favorite. Can you just explain that a little bit?
I mean, just in terms of adjustability, it's just like it's more difficult to dial in the
while you're moving at 60 kilometers per hour.
It's definitely more difficult to be precise there. But like, I have the same issue with a seat post that I have not a seat post that I have a review that would be going back to 2005, but a bike that I have in for review that has a seat post on it, believe it or not. But that seat post is very difficult to.
It's not a Charles
micro. No, it's very difficult to make micro adjustments to, and maybe this gets us on to the next topic we're about to talk about. Is like I strongly believe that it's the last 5% of anything that takes 95% of the time, and when you can't get that last 5% right, you lose 95% of the enjoyment. Which is my case with not being able to get my cleats right or not being able to get my saddle.
Yeah.
Correct.
No, I think that aligns us so much with that we talk about. It's the little things that can spoil a really great product. Like I were answered about internal headset cable routing last week in an Orbea E mountain bike, and that bike by many other metrics is superb. But for me, it was just completely ruined by this one detail. And so yeah, I completely agree. But yeah, I mean, let's get into it. You said this might get us into the next topic. So what is that next topic?
Well, I tried to find a wording for it that didn't seem very. Is condescending the word I'm looking for here? And that's not what I meant it to be at all. But I just think that we are in a unique place where we get to test so many different things. We get to build our experience so much off the back of that, and we get to test them in so many different places. And this came about through a conversation with a rider that I know quite well, who's, let's just say, his saddle height is on the extreme side. And this rider also struggles with being too high, not too low. Mm-hmm. And this rider also maybe has areas of opportunities in terms of cornering and descending and technical segments of races. Again, I need to find a better way of phrasing this, but basically I think people, if you don't know how a bike should feel, you don't realize what you're missing out on. And I think that's been one of the most powerful learnings for me since I started this job over 5 years ago now at this point, believe it or not. It was just like building up that understanding so much over years and years and years, and riding in different locations on different bikes and different roads and different surfaces, and just, you can almost immediately assess a bike just from the initial feelings. And that's something where I think there's actually a performance element to it as well. It's like if you don't have that experience, you don't have that feel, you don't recognize issues or opportunities that may exist because that's normal to you. You've never experienced how good it can be, so you don't realize how far off perfect it
You
is.
don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. And I wish I
Yeah.
could remember how we explained this before we started.
No, and I think you just did, but it's yeah, this is something that I feel like we could just have like on repeat as a ongoing topic in every episode, where I think it's just so fundamental to everything in cycling, right? Is that it is a matter of experiencing. And I think that some brands have figured this out over the years, that demo bikes, for example, you get someone on a demo bike and it's the best thing they've ever ridden because it's new and it's set up fresh and it's the next generation of bike, and it truly does sell bikes when you can get people onto it. But I think we're in a pretty unique situation where we get to effectively do that on a weekly basis, and so yeah, the experience comes from that, where you quickly feel how even simple things, how like a Dura-Ace Di2 setup should feel versus how it shouldn't feel, and what is expected of that, and what when it's not right, or how good or how good a Shimano disc brake can be, for example.
Well, I mean, the takeaway I would urge for listeners here is like just go and try this stuff. Like, and the thing where I think it could be most obvious most quickly is just like mess about with your saddle height. Put it up a centimeter, put it down a centimeter, put it forward, put it back, whatever. But just go and try and do a descent that you know pretty well, and try to feel the differences that makes in terms of handling. And it might not be immediately obvious. I think it would be. But just try to experience those things and build up your own understanding, and take that into your own riding then. Because again, I'm looking at this through the performance angle. There could be opportunity there that you don't even realize exists.
Yep. Yeah, and obviously my head's coming at it from a mechanics angle, but it's but yeah, I think on your point, and this is somewhere where I feel a little bit saddened by modern bikes that make this a lot harder. But one of the things I used to always suggest was to, a saddle height's one thing, but also playing with handlebar height, and use the stem spaces to get a feel for what that does to the bike's handling, because it makes a vast difference to how a bike feels. And go up, go down, if you need to change the stem length. But I feel like these days it's people get on that bike, it looks scary to adjust. Shops aren't encouraging people to adjust it, and they just never know that like their road bike could handle significantly better if if they could manage 10 or 15 mil lower stem height, or vice versa. And yeah, I think it's one of those things that like, yeah, it does take the ability to adjust it, but two, the sort of the knowing of that things can be better, or that hunting and improvement to actually go ahead and try it.
I was on a press launch this year, where I strongly believe there was an issue with the bike that I had, but I also strongly believe that the same issue was not exclusive to my bike. I think it probably existed across all the test bikes, but I was the only one raising the concern. And yeah, I know it got to the point where I kept sending it back to the mechanics to work on, wishing that I could just do it myself, but respecting the boundaries, and the setting we were in. And they were like, "What is wrong with this guy? There's nothing wrong with this bike." And I'm like, "I can't ride this bike the way it is. I just can't." And so, yeah, the review for that bike is coming soon. Once the embargo lifts, and yeah, I think we've got to the bottom of it. But it's the reason I'm hesitating here is because when you it's something you can get used to, and when you get used to it, it's less of an issue. And if you're not hypersensitive to these things anyway, maybe it's not an issue to start with. But for me, it did make the bike much more difficult to get into the right sort of setup window for myself. And it did make the handling and cornering and descending experience much more, it took away from it in some way. It made it more difficult to be precise. And so that's what kind of got me thinking about this segment, was having been in other press camps this year and got on bike straight away and been able to find a happy place much quicker. And then I think descending is where you most often find this. It just got me thinking, like, if you don't know what's possible, you maybe accept what you currently have. And
yeah. There are so many things in my mind at the moment of where I want to take this conversation. I won't because of time, but one thing, I had previously drafted an article a couple of years ago about how reviewing bikes makes me hate my own. And because you're always writing the next best thing, and you're always therefore blatantly aware when you get back on your own bike of the shortcomings that your own bike now has, whether it's, in the wheels, or maybe there's some kind of improvement in the ride quality, or whatever it is. Or sometimes I get back on my own bike and like, yeah, this is how it should be. But yeah, there is occasionally I get, I don't like to call in crappy bikes. I like to call in bikes that I genuinely think on paper should be a step improvement and progressing cycling as a sport into better products. And so that's the kind of bike that I like to spend my time on. But yeah, so for me, it's a regular occurrence. The other thing where my head is at with this, and we can come back to what I just said, but
say about a second.
Okay.
Let me just come, because okay, caveat first. My own existing current bike is a rim brake SL6 S-Works tarmac.
It's perfect.
It's aging, let's put it that way,
Yeah.
And it doesn't see much use, and so I can't really say that I ever get on my own bike anymore, which is a sad thing. But it's mostly because it's so clean and pretty at the moment. I don't want to take it out on the crappy roads.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. I just put my rim brake CAD 12 into storage.
Like permanent storage, or?
Well, I mean, I can take it out again.
Is this like is this a permanent pause? As I heard one,
it's an off-site storage
say recently.
Yeah, off-site storage.
But I feel like if I had a modern bike of my own, I would get back to that, and I wouldn't be reminded of its shortcomings. I would be reminded of it would be a positive step, I think, in most cases, because so often now bikes turn up with the wrong stem, the wrong bar width, the wrong saddle, the wrong crank length. Everything is, all the touch points are wrong, effectively. And so having something like just a reference point would be very useful.
Palette cleanser is what I refer to it as.
And the SL6 was always that before. I think it's getting a little bit too long in the tooth now to be a reference point for bikes these days. I'm also not going to go and spend thousands of pounds on a bike that I would very rarely ride, and so I don't know what the solution is there. But that, for me, of late, I've been thinking more and more about how, going back to a reference bike might actually, if consumers had that opportunity, they might actually end up buying less bikes, because you get on something new, it feels fantastic, the novelty kind of wears off pretty quickly, and then you start, if it does feel fantastic, if everything is wrong the way I just described, it often feels worse. And so just having this, it could be a couple of years old, but it just feels so much better on the road. You go, oh, actually, it's maybe not a new bike I need. Maybe it's just a tweak here and there to the bike that I have. But sorry, you had another point.
I mean, well, to finish the point you just made is, for me, I guess the outcome of that is that more brands should bring back demo bikes like they used to do. Is kind of the solution for me for that, is like, give people the opportunity to experience that bike, and maybe it is night and day better than their current one and they will buy it. But once in a while it might serve the customer to know that new flashy thing isn't better than their current bike. The other point I wanted to make is just purely from a mechanics point of view, which is good mechanics will be able to find ways to improve just about any bike. And I think a lot of people are now doing their own home maintenance, whether it's through finding enjoyment in the work or just through cost saving. But I think once in a while it pays to take your bike to a really good mechanic. I'm not saying any shop will be able to do this, but find a local mechanic that has a great reputation and take it to them and see what they're capable of doing. Because you might come back and be like, wow, this is a completely new feeling bike again.
Dave, I have to interrupt you. I've just had an idea that is going to get more new Escape Collective members than the tire testing will. And that is that you and I should make ourselves available, probably in the Discord, maybe not in the forum, but in the Discord too, from both a mechanics and a performance point of view. Members only can submit their current bike, and we will offer a way to improve it.
It'll mean I have to step back into Discord, but sure, I'm game.
Well, let's see. How many? We'll put a number on it. Well, how many new members? Well, I suppose we should probably just do it for our existing members. It shouldn't have to be new members.
We can do it.
Yeah.
What, the Geek Warning forum, the Geek Warning Discord channel?
Yeah, it kind of feels like it should have like a standalone place, shouldn't it? Can you do like threads or something in there? I don't know.
Something like that. All right,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
I mean, one of our great members will know what to do with this and make the place for it.
Yep. All right, Ron. I think this could be good, and I think some people might just see it as us being snobs.
I mean, that was my difficulty with the wording. I'm not trying to say like, oh, you don't know because you don't get the. I'm not saying we're better in it. I just
No.
It has been one of my biggest learnings over the past 5 years is like just how when you get a feeling for how things can be good, bad, or indifferent, it just increases your understanding, and we can like it's one of the things that we bring into our reviews. It's why we don't end up saying all the time like, oh, it corners like it's on rails or something like there's you can bring nuance to that because you can feel how different it is to something else that we've written before. And I think it's not a slight on anybody. It's more like maybe try to experiment with these things and see if you can find some sort of understanding for yourself. You might revert back to the exact same saddle position you had before, and potentially that would be the best thing to do. But just get a feel for it, and try these things out.
Yeah, and from a mechanic's point of view, I think if you don't have access to a really good mechanic, but maybe a riding friend of yours has just had their bike serviced by someone with a good reputation, maybe jump on it for 5 minutes while it's fresh and go through as many puddles as you could. No, just get a feel for it. See whether the shifting is noticeably better, or the brakes are noticeably better, or things feel tighter than what you used to. I think
the one that actually just
is a good
popped into my
opportunity.
mind is
Yep.
I often look at people's lever setup and go, you just cannot be comfortable with the levers the way they are and the way your hands are interacting with the levers, and that's it's maybe something that's just how their bike feels, and so they haven't felt how much better it can be. And if you don't know how much better it can be, you don't know how bad it currently is. So like adjusting lever angle, I mean up and down, not in and out, but you could do both.
In my experience, it's amazing how most people adapt and how people in general will adapt. Which is why for me, like I, go back to that palate cleanser of a bike. I try not to just ride the same test bike back to back to back. I try to jump between different bikes because the first impression matters the most. But yeah, from that point of view, like it amazes me how many people like be riding with their hoods uneven and just have become accustomed to it. Or yeah.
Sorry to drag on and on, but I think for any like aspiring kids who are looking to be pros or anything, I so strongly feel that this is going to be a performance opportunity going forward. The pros who are most in tune with their setups, most in tune with their bike fit, most in tune with their equipment, can report back to either the bike fitter or the manufacturer or the designer areas of opportunity where they can then find performance gains. And as more and more of the so-called marginal gains boxes are just ticked by everybody, and so like as Kaylee always says, if everybody has an aero helmet, nobody has an aero helmet. If you can, if you're,
I think that was the Zach Edwards quote.
Okay,
originally.
Sorry, I thought it was Kaylee. Yeah. Kaylee says it all the time. It could well be Zach, so we'll give Zach the credit for it only. Yeah. But if you're in tune enough with your, and with your bike or your equipment, that you can say, oh, well, I know that the bike fitting system says this saddle angle is right for me because of this pressure, but I actually can't do X, Y, or Z with that setup. The feeling I've had from listening to pros talk for years is that they take the bike fitters setup and go with that, if I'm using that example, whereas pros who are more in tune and can give better feedback,
get better outcomes. Yep. So yeah, I guess the main takeaway from this is don't be afraid to experiment, and wherever opportunity presents itself, try ride other bikes, try use other equipment, especially if it's similar to your own. Like if a friend of yours has the identical bike, jump on it, see what feels better, see what feels worse. You might find that your brakes are a mess, or your shifting's a mess, or that your handlebar setup's all wrong. I think
if something hurts or doesn't work, it's not supposed to be like that.
Yes. Yeah. Listen to your bike and body. Yeah, very good. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back in a second. Let me quickly throw to a colleague of mine that is very rarely heard on Geek Warning, Ian Trelaw, the one and only. He's just come out with another episode of Rabbit Holes, which is a really fun podcast that sort of dives deep into very specific niche cycling related topics. And this latest episode is him reading one of his recent articles about his, against my best advice, his foray into buying a frame of unknown nature from AliExpress. And the outcome is interesting, insightful, and just plain humorous. So
I think the episode title from the first ever episode of Rabbit Holes tells you all you need to know about what this podcast is. And the title was "Who Shot Greg LeMond?"
Yep,
great the episode. Fact that Greg LeMond got shot is something we all know, but has anybody ever thought, who shot him? Yeah, they went deep down a rabbit hole on that one.
Yeah. So this one, a little tech related. It is about a AliExpress frame and the fun adventures there. But Rabbit Holes has its own podcast feed. Otherwise, you'll find this in the Everything feed if you are a member of Escape Collective. So anyway, let's hear a little teaser.
I was bored and I wanted a pink bike. I mean, sure, it was also an opportunity to grapple with my curiosity about the massive Chinese sales platform AliExpress. Welcome back to Rabbit Holes, an Escape Collective podcast. It's been a while, hasn't it? I figured it was time to just lob a new story into the ether with another adventure in the bicycle commerce space. I double-checked the geometry chart, triple-checked the spec, and hit the checkout button. Then I waited. I waited to see what arrived and how it would ride. All of this is possible through Escape Collective membership. To become a member, go to escapecollective.com/join. We'll see you down the rabbit hole.
All right, back to the show. I think it's time for a PSA. Yeah, you've been busy on the run sheet today. This one's from you. What? All it's got here is I was an idiot. So why were you an idiot?
I mean, I've just been explaining for 50 minutes why I'm an idiot. Maybe unintentionally, but listeners will be well aware of this by now. No, I got a puncture on Saturday, and was out with. There was only 2 other people had shown up for our club run because it was such a bad day. So not the type of day you want a puncture. And when I took out my tube and electric mini inflator, the TPU tube had punctured itself in the saddlebag, even though I had it wrapped in a bag as you should do. And the electric mini inflator, the battery was dead.
Oh no.
I had to get a land. The tech writer in the group, the guy who should be doing things right, had to get a land of a pump and a tube from Connor Dooney, one of training
and then partners. You got to tell him while you're pumping how much better your electric inflator is normally versus the pump he has.
See, the worst thing about this is that Connor punctured a few weeks ago, and I had first of all, he hadn't told us he punctured, so we'd got half an hour down the road of hypothermia before we realized he wasn't there and had to turn back for him. And when we got back to him, he had fixed the puncture with his numb fingers. He had got that much done for him, but he hadn't got enough pressure in to seat the tire properly. And so I was like, oh, hold on, I've got a mini inflator here. And I pulled out the mini inflator and it failed to work also.
A different one?
But that was a different one. And so that was the AliExpress one. I am giving it the benefit of the doubt that it was the cold conditions that had flummoxed it, because it was charged like literally the day before, and just refused to work when it was needed, and has worked since when I've kept it at home. But I had since put the Silka one into my bag as a go-to.
But it was flat.
Again, I'm going to blame the cold conditions again. And so the
cold
the PSA
and lithium-ion batteries don't always play nice.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm in two minds. Like the two things that were extra frustrating was that I usually do mean to like bring a pump with me, but I forgot to grab it that morning. And I'd also was on a test bike that had been sent to me, and the puncture wouldn't have happened had the sealant inside it not been dry. So that's a bit frustrating. And the other frustrating thing was that I had meant to lift tire patches that morning and forgot to do that as well. And so it could have been fixed even without a tube had I had the patch with me. But anyway,
what's the PSA here?
The PSA is, especially in wintertime,
check your spares.
Yeah. Yeah. And I personally won't be using TPU or electric mini inflators as spares going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely the electric mini inflator person, should I say? I think it's safe to say I've used more of them than really anyone else. But despite that, and every time I review them, I still conclude the same thing, which is I'm still not yet convinced as for them as a ride spare or as the only thing to rely on. I love them for pre-ride use, but as an actual ride thing, I actually only carry them on one bike, which is my gravel bike, which has nice down tube storage that fits it. Every other bike, I'm still CO2 or a mini pump.
So I had taken the Silco one on that circumnavigation of Ireland that I did, and it worked fine. You know, I carried it on a bike for 9.5 days, and every time I needed it, it worked fine. Warmer conditions. And I've also punctured and had the AliExpress one with me, and it worked fine. Also, again, warmer conditions. So I do think it's been the cold here, and part of me thinks,
How
if I just
cold?
carried it in my like Saturday, it was like 2-3 degrees Celsius. Part of me thinks if I just carried it in my jacket pocket, it would be warm enough that it would work. But I don't want to be carrying a metal box in my pocket in case I crash on it.
Yep. So anyway, choose your own adventure. But I think the main takeaway is just check that your spares are functioning, and I guess the other takeaway is that maybe TPU tubes aren't as amazing as some people claim.
The hilarious and sort of coincidental thing about this is it is almost a year to the day since a friend was on the same training ride and almost as far away from home as possible, punctured, and 2 or 3 TPU tubes later, I was cursing TPU tubes to death and telling him why he was an idiot for using TPU tubes. Only to find myself in the same situation. So I was already unconvinced. They're just so handy as a spare. They pack down so small.
Yeah.
And this one probably just like aged out. But I mean, that like
A year's not very old.
Yeah. No, but I mean, this one that I had in my bag could be 18 months old at this point.
Even
but again,
still,
what's the what's the point in these things being packable if you don't have faith that it's actually going to work when you need it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one for another day. But I think we've said enough things to upset people there, so we can move on.
Which is not the intention.
Oh, isn't it? Yeah.
I dare say the tire testing article is going to upset quite a few.
We have a new title. Your TPU tubes are terrible, and here's 6 reasons why. Again, with thumbnails of us I think more in like a inquisitory kind of like thinking pose for this one, if we had a YouTube title.
Is this not an angry one? Is this not angry?
It could be. You could be angry. I could be thinking. Yeah. Anyway.
That's the beauty of a duo, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, just being silly.
And fast forward to a few weeks from now when we're on YouTube and we're having to do something similar.
Yep.
We will never do it.
You
can't make me.
No, but I do think eventually we'll have to get this podcast onto YouTube. It's certainly the way podcasts are going at the moment, and I just need to get a background that's less terrible, and then everyone can see it.
The elephant's ass in your background, Dave, is I think what people would tune in to see.
For people that can't see it, I actually do have a canvas photo of a mother elephant and a baby elephant, but it's taken from behind, so all you see is elephant asses. And I don't know why, but I actually took that photo myself. I think that one was somewhere in the Kruger National Park of South Africa, and I don't know. There's just something about the composure and there's just something about the composition of the photo and the little baby elephant that I just kind of enjoy. But it is quite funny because it's the sort of thing you see over my shoulder anytime you have a phone conversation with me. So I've been meaning to swap it out to something less eyebrow raising, should I say?
I mean, it could be worse. You could have 2 of your own jerseys hanging on the wall behind you, which is just all kinds of wrong. But I don't know.
Have you signed them?
I'm not going to do that thing where I keep looking back at the things that I've seen countless times and then end up being really on and off and on and off.
Oh, right. Did I just do that?
A little bit.
Sorry, everyone. Well, I think that's as rubbish of a place as ever to conclude this episode.
on that elephant ass.
Yeah. But before we do, I think it's just worth noting that it's something we said last week, but ads are going to come to the podcast. For people that missed the memo last week, we are going to turn on what they call programmatic ads onto our free feed for the podcast. And so that's basically ads that we don't have. We don't know what they are, nor do we control what they are. We just have requested that they're not cycling related. But yeah, it's for us. It's done through a not-for-profit that also sort of handles the ads for like the likes of NPR, National Public Radio in the US. But yeah, if you don't like ads, then you don't have to listen to them. You can become a member of Escape Collective and not have the ads, and therefore also get access to what we're about to have, which is members only Ask a Wrench with Brad Copeland, which we'll head over to now. Ronan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you. And yeah, hopefully you get some sleep rather than using your night times to test tires.
Tell us what you want, members. Sleep or tires?
There's a bad pun in there, but I'll leave it for everyone else to think it. Too tired.
About the material that goes into. I thought you were telling me about that. Talking about that Goodyear joke you told me. Can't go there, can we? Maybe, yeah.
Really can't.
Anyway.
All right, I'll tell you another joke once we get off the line. Thank you, Ronan.
See ya.
Thanks to Will Jones of Red Bricks Media for the editing and mixing of this episode.